My name is Victoria Fleming and I help businesses build repeatable, scalable sales success. So, if you don't know me, then one of the things you might not know about me is that there's a few words that I really hate. The first is the F word. That's right, free. Why talk about free when instead you could talk about non-chargeable or something that's at no cost to yourself? Doesn't that sound more compelling? I also hate the D word. That's right, discount. Why talk about discounts when instead you can talk about packages and building value? And of course, more recently, I also really hate the C word. That's right, COVID. And I'm going to be talking all about how you can continue to build your sales all the way through the current COVID lockdown and beyond. So these tips aren't just for today. They're things that you can apply to your business at any time. So stay tuned. Let's get right to it. There's a lot of people out there right now who are currently thinking that if you don't sell hand sanitizers, masks, loo roll or pasta, then basically you might as well give up and go home. I don't agree. I've worked with some amazing businesses over the last year dealing with some really challenging times who have continued to not only be successful, but continued to grow. So what can we learn from those businesses? Well, I think the first thing is we should really think about what's really changed. And actually thinking about what's changed on a regular basis is something we should really be doing anyway. Let's be honest, there's constantly changes to the business landscape, to the products and services that we're providing, and to the needs that our customers have. And really that ties very much into what we have been dealing with in 2020. Because I believe there's three key things that we need to take account of in order to continue to be successful. The first of those is our customer needs. This is all about the fact that things have changed and therefore what our customers need or feel important has changed along with that. The second thing is attitude or mood. Guess what? People aren't all feeling super positive right now. So we need to match, mirror, and show our prospects and customers that we really do care and that we really do get it. And the third thing is all about route to market. If you normally sell face-to-face, then that's probably changed as you've moved online. Similarly, if you're ringing people, you may find that people aren't always there to pick up the phone because of furlough. So let's be really clear. These are the three things that we need to take account of. And these things can actually impact our sales success at any time. So let's break this down. The first thing I said was our customer needs have changed. What that really means is that the problem that your product or service is actually solving either no longer exists or exists in a different format. So we need to think about how we're going to flex and position ourselves to meet these needs. Let me give you a couple of examples. The first thing is we need to consider our product. Is our product still meeting one of those needs? Now, some great examples of businesses flexing their products can be seen in people like Brewdog. They realised that demand from their breweries was going to go down as soon as they went into lockdown. So they took a hard look at what they could actually do. And that was where Brewdog hand sanitizer was born. And in fact, not only did they fulfill a real need within their business, they really captured some of the public zeitgeist, some of the mood, some of the moment, that sort of, we're Britain and we can get through this. And people really got behind that. They've gone on to ride that wave by doing things like rebranding their tinned beer. Yes, that's right. There is a one called Barnard Castle now. Makes your eyes go funny. And as a result, they've not felt the impact that some of their competitors have. The key thing was they assessed how their product could fulfill a need. And if it couldn't, how they could flex their assets to create something that would answer that need directly. It may be that your product or service actually still fulfills a customer need. And actually, I think for a lot of people, what we're offering is still completely valid. The only thing is that where we need to put the emphasis or how we need to position it needs to change. Let me give you an example of this. One of the clients that I was working with at the beginning of lockdown was offering ongoing marketing services and marketing support. Understandably, as we went into lockdown, a lot of their clients were thinking, we don't need this anymore. So it would have been really easy to have pressed the pause button on that business and waited out lockdown. What that business actually did was come up with a COVID package. They recognised that businesses do still need to market. Just because they've laid off their marketing teams doesn't mean they don't still need a presence. It just means they don't need as much of that marketing support. So they produced a package to support businesses who'd laid off their marketing team and said, look, you know what? We understand you don't need some full-time people doing this right now, but we can step in. We can keep your presence alive. We can keep your accounts going and make sure that your prospects and customers are still seeing you. Just by repackaging their services, they were able to capture a whole new part of the market. And not just that, they were able to fulfill a new need that their prospects had. And even if you don't need to change your product and you don't need to flex your product or service, you might just want to change how you're presenting yourself. It's really interesting at the moment seeing the number of adverts, even just on the TV, where people are all of a sudden, it's about being safe, people are wearing masks, we're seeing people more in the home. And this is because the companies that are still advertising to us know that in order to really hit home with us, they need to speak to where we are today. So they've repositioned their messaging directly into our day-to-day lives. So think about your prospects' need. What they did need and what they need now may be two different things. Or it may be that they still need your product or service. They just need you to present it in a way that really answers the problem that they're having right now. So if you want to sell more right now, start by assessing your current prospects' needs and how you can answer them. So let's talk about attitude or mood, because let's be honest, I think we've all felt a little more or less positive at different points over the last year. So this is an opportunity to really think about how we're going to tap in and work with our customers and with our prospects. One of the key changes that I've made with a lot of the sales teams that I've been working with is stopping them talking about the C word. That's right. Talking about COVID does not help us. And it doesn't help us because, to be honest with you, you know what? It's not a positive thing. It's not making anybody happy. And actually, it can be really super emotional. And generally, the conversation that we're looking to have as a business is not an emotion-led conversation. But just because I'm suggesting that you don't use that language doesn't mean that you should completely ignore it, because that makes you look like you're stupid. So one of the things that I know we've had great success with has been about changing that opening. So instead of when you're starting to talk to people, start to say, oh, how are you coping? How are you managing with COVID? Oh, it's terrible, isn't it? And starting on those conversations. Instead, why not reposition? Acknowledge the situation, but take the emotion out of it. A great line we've been using is, how are you finding working from home? What's really nice is it acknowledges the change in the environment that we're all working in without bringing up all that emotion. The other great thing, and especially if you're a B2B business, is that's opening a conversation about how they're currently operating as a business. Ding, ding, ding. You're now finding out key information that can be helpful to you as you progress that sales opportunity. So think about your language and the questions that you're using. Now, the other thing to think about, of course, is that when we're coming to do sales work ourselves, we actually need to be in the right place and in the right frame of mind. Because remember, we want to be happy, upbeat, excited about talking about our products and services. If you have a call scheduled and you're feeling really down, that is going to totally come across. So there's a few key tips that you can take, whether you're working at home or if you're still in the office, that can really help your sales success, especially at this point in time where I think everyone's day to day is a little less structured. The first thing is to start to plan your sales time. Are you going to spend an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours in a given day on sales work? If you're a salesperson, what sales work are you going to do and when? I always really recommend batching things together. Get your prospect calls in one pot, get your existing customer contacts somewhere else, so on and so forth. That's really helpful because it breaks up the day and it breaks up your mood. The other great thing is, if it's in the diary, you really should do it so you can see it coming. And then you can plan to get yourself in the mood. When we're coming to do sales work ourselves, we actually need to be in the right place and in the right frame of mind. Because remember, we want to be happy, upbeat, excited about talking about our products and services. Now, I have a few top tips here, and I get it's a little bit harder, especially if you're home alone, as to how you motivate yourself to make those sales calls, do those sales meetings online, or even to get involved with a bit of the DMs that are going backwards and forwards at the moment. I always massively recommend giving yourself a bit of a target and a bit of a mood boost. So how do you do that? Well, first of all, for any sales session, I would always recommend you sit down and set some key targets. That might be about the number of people you talk to. It might be about the number of people you present your product or service to. But set a couple of targets, and those targets aren't always to sell something, because as we all know, sales is a process. It would be amazing if we picked up the phone and made one phone call and then they bought. But in reality, people take a little bit more time to get to know us and to understand exactly the value that we can offer them before they make that decision. So make sure that you're targeting on some of those steps in the process, so you're successful every time you sit down to sell. I'd also massively recommend some sales music to sell to. And that's really just getting some really jazzy tunes. Have a little bit of a boost to your mood. Get some music you love that gets you excited. Have a dance around the room. Do whatever you like. But you know what? Getting that mood up, getting those endorphins going can be super helpful. And equally, there's loads of old salespeople tricks out there. Things like standing up while you're making calls, taking power poses to make sure that you've got all the right testosterone and confidence rushing around your body. But really what it's actually about is about making the decision. I am going to be positive on these calls, and I'm excited to have these conversations. So you always want to ensure you're going super positive, especially as not everybody who you're dealing with is necessarily going to be in that frame of mood. I'd always suggest that you match and mirror a little bit, but don't let that drag you so far down. And remember, really, although we do want to have a relationship and a great conversation with someone, that does mean that we want to have a business conversation. So just remember to keep that in mind when you're opening those conversations. How do you open a business conversation rather than a highly emotional conversation about the current situation? The third thing that we need to think about is our route to market. Oh my goodness, it's all changed. All of a sudden, events are online. We can't go face to face in someone's office. Driving up and down the country to go and do a sales demo all of a sudden just isn't a thing. Some people are no longer picking up the phone because they've been furloughed. Business structures have changed. Exactly how we sell and that route to market has changed. So that means we need to think about how we're going to contact our prospects and how we're going to start to bring them into our sales funnel. And what does that sales funnel even look like? Well, some of the businesses that I've been working with have been having great success with some of those old staples like webinars. Who knew? But actually a compelling online event can be super helpful as long as it's interesting, high energy, and it's not just about sales. Free events and things that offer no value are things that people still don't have time for. You should also be thinking about great online meetings. This might be Teams, Zoom, Google, whatever. But you and your sales team should be equipped to have the very best quality meetings at the drop of a hat. And yet, people are still making key mistakes. Just a few things can really raise the professionalism of the conversations that you're having in these environments. Make sure you show up on time. Make sure you're wearing headphones with a mic on to minimize background noise, which can be so distracting. Make sure you've got your kit ready to go. You know, if you're going to show software, make sure you're ready to share the screen and the screen's on the right page. This is like sales 101. Do your prep. What I've been seeing increasingly though is because we're online, people are actually allowing that to slide. I understand we're all in challenging times, but equally, you still want to present your business in the most professional way that you can and ensure that customer can quickly build trust with you. And that's so much easier to do when you're running a really slick meeting. And just because it's online, don't forget, use an agenda. This is one of my bugbears. Agendas are your way to win the day when we're talking sales. You have short periods of time with people and you've got a lot to cover. Equally, you want to ensure that you know what they're expecting from those meetings. So if you don't use an agenda or you don't know how to, that's definitely something that you can look at straight away. I think the other thing is as well, not everything has to be online. One of the clients I've been talking to recently has had amazing success with leaflets of all things. That's right, they've gone out and they've actually leafleted their local area. What's been really helpful about that is that they're a B2C organisation, and in doing so, they've talked to loads of people because people are around their houses at the moment. And because she was doing this for her own business, every one of those conversations was a fantastic sales opportunity. And you know what? People really appreciated the fact that it was a person there actually bringing some information personally to them about their own business, rather than like a marketing company doing a leaflet drop, which can be really anonymous. So think about, how can you be a bit different? Everything's online at the moment. How do you make yourself stand out? How can you be more personal? And how can you show the person behind the business? So what are the key things to think about? I think the first thing is to drop the C word and start being more successful with our sales, which, let's be honest, is what we all want. So don't let it be an excuse. There's always something that we can do, and there's always a way we can progress. So this is all about taking the time out to think about how we can rather than how we can't. Remember to be flexible. You can be flexible about your product, about the way you present it. It might be that you package up what you deliver a little bit differently. But listen to your customers, listen to your prospects. What do they need from you right now? And how can you deliver that for them? And I think the other thing is really to give yourself the space to be successful at sales. Sales doesn't happen overnight. You need to carve out a little bit of your day, all day, every day, in which you're going to sell or undertake some sales activity. So think about your plan, think about your targets, and celebrate that success. You know what? Sometimes right now it's a success just to get to speak to the right person. So pat yourself on the back and really think about your route to market. You can't ignore the fact that things have changed. So does your route to market need to change? It's amazing the number of people now across on LinkedIn. It's one of the most active socials out there, purely because so many people have shifted their selling activity across to there. So how could you change your route to be more successful?